Good evening, welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story, her sparkle will always shine. A town turns out for the funeral of Southport stabbing victim Elsie Stanham.
She was just the most amazing little girl. She was full of joy and life and was just so kind and caring.
Her family said they wanted it to be a celebration of her life. Also tonight, flattened Storm Lilian blows the start of the region's bank holiday weekend off course. The multi-million-pound Chinese scamming operation run from a seaside hotel on the Isle of Man. The beauty of the Lake District, but is the national park in danger of becoming a giant car park?
I went for a day out to Riots like a few weeks ago and I just couldn't park anywhere, so I ended up just not going.
And winds of gust up to 70 miles per hour in parts of the northwest today. That's all thanks to Storm Lilian, which has now well passed. How are we doing for the bank holiday weekend? Join me at the end of the programme. I'll give you all the details.
Balloons, bubbles, pink ribbons and a Taylor Swift song. It was a funeral like no other for 7-year-old Elsie Stanham. Her family described her as an amazing little girl who could light up any room. Elsie was one of the 3 girls killed at a dance class last month in Southport. Today, hundreds of people lined the streets to pay their respects to her. Andy Gill reports.
Today was an opportunity not just for Elsie's family and friends to celebrate her life and say goodbye, but for a whole town to do so too. People lined the streets as the cortege, with her family walking behind, approached St John's Church in Birkdale. As her pink-draped coffin was carried in, more people stood outside and listened as the service was relayed on loudspeakers. Members of Elsie's cheerleading team formed a guard of honour. Her father was one of the pallbearers. One of the first tributes came from the local vicar.
Who was tender-hearted, outgoing, caring and kind. A big sister, a precious daughter, who knew nothing but love and fun in her life. And a little girl who loved a big party.
Ahead of the funeral, Elsie's family released a new photograph of her with Mum Jenny, Dad David and little sister Rosie. They said she was an amazing little girl, truly unforgettable.
Lean on me when you're strong. I'll be your friend.
The Liverpool Lighthouse Choir sang. Her teacher told the mourners that Elsie was born to be a performer.
During our recent Year 2 concert, Elsie amazed us from day 1 of rehearsals. Mrs Flanagan and I were so impressed that our catchphrase for the rest of Year 2 became, "Channel your inner Elsie Stanham."
The mourners came from a wide cross-section of Southport society. They included Ibrahim Hussain, the imam of the local mosque, which was attacked after the Southport stabbings because of false internet rumours about the identity of the alleged attacker. One of Merseyside's most senior policemen spoke on behalf of all the emergency services who responded to the dance class attack last month.
Southport is not just a place, it is your home, and it will forever be Elsie's home.
The dance class had a Taylor Swift theme, and one of her songs was performed as Elsie's coffin left the church. Elsie's dad, David, is a postman, and Royal Mail vans tied with pink ribbons followed the cortege as it left for a private committal service. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Southport.
Well, meanwhile, a man who threw objects, including bricks and a wheelie bin, at police during the riot in Southport that followed those stabbings has been jailed. 34-year-old Rory Allington-Mott pleaded guilty to violent disorder and was jailed for 3 years and 3 months at Liverpool Crown Court. He'd travelled from his home in Newport to take part in the disorder. Staying with that story, and the government's top lawyer, the Attorney-General, was in Liverpool today bearing gifts. Richard Hermer KC donated some books to the Spello Community Library, which was destroyed during the riots 2 weeks ago. He also met the team from the Crown Prosecution Service, who've been dealing with the aftermath of the disturbances that followed the stabbings in Southport. I went to the library to meet him.
This space in some ways represents, is emblematic of this country. It showed how a tiny minority can cause havoc here in this kind of community centre in which kids come in to learn to read, the community come together. That doesn't represent us as British people. What represents us as British people is what you can see, the young people here coming to volunteer to rebuild, the donations.
The government said that the charges were going to be swift and harsh against anyone involved in this unrest. Do you think that had an impact on stopping these riots?
I think it played a major and crucial role. So people who were minded to carry on with criminal activity got the clearest message within days that there is a price to pay. And people saw in the clearest and starkest terms that justice can be swift and it can be severe.
Do you think the sentences were always proportionate?
Well, look, sentences is a matter for our independent judiciary, and I can't comment upon the sentences themselves. But I don't think anybody can be under any doubt at all that when you engage in the type of criminality that we saw, punishment will be very severe indeed.
And the offence that happened here, I mean, absolutely abhorrent, and the public was shocked by it. But you were a human rights lawyer, so that's why I ask really whether you think that all the sentences were particularly fair. And could there potentially be a backlash from people that think they weren't actually?
Well, I don't think there's any possibility of a backlash. I think what most people thought when they saw the scenes unfolding on the streets just outside of here and in other parts of the country, that this was utterly disgraceful, grotesque criminal behaviour, and that those who took part in it deserved to be punished, and the punishments deserved to be severe.
Prison numbers are at an all-time high, and as you'll know, a judge today directed magistrates to delay jailing prisoners to ease pressure on prisons. Does that include some of these people facing charges over the disorder?
Let me be really clear. Prison space is tight. We inherited an absolute mess. We've taken very early steps to try and improve that. And although they remain tight, anybody who commits a serious criminal offence will find themselves in a cell.
So they would remain in a cell, but at the moment that would be what, a police cell?
Well, it will depend
on space.
Yeah, it will depend upon the particular circumstances. It will depend upon the particular geography at the time. We've obviously got some interim emergency measures in at the moment, but the big point here is if you commit a crime and it's a serious crime, you will be in a cell.
That was the Attorney General speaking to me a little earlier. Now, the family of Merseyside teenager Ellis Cox, beg your pardon, we're going to move on to Storm Lilian now. And the northwest took an early morning battering from Storm Lilian today. Gusts of up to 70 miles an hour ripped down trees, left thousands without power, flooded rail lines and flattened a festival in Bolton. Eunice Muller reports.
Storms are named when they have the potential to cause disruption, and you can see the effects of Lilian across the northwest. I'm in Samlesbury, where properties here in Lancashire are without power. In fact, around 3,000 properties, Electricity Northwest say, are without power in Lancashire mainly, but also Cumbria and also Greater Manchester. Here, I spoke to a bar manager at the local pub.
So we had no water last night, and then this morning, early hours this morning, I think it was about 6:30, we had no water or electric here. We haven't still got any electric. Water has just been restored, but yeah, that means that customers can't come and have their dinner here. So everyone that was cancelled last night was moved to today, which obviously isn't looking like we're going to be able to do that service either.
In Bolton, the Food and Drink Festival there has been cancelled today. It's due to run until Monday. You can see from the pictures the damage that's been caused.
Absolutely devastated. I'm not going to lie, I'm devastated. I've cried, I've not stopped crying, but I just think on the positive, no one's been hurt. It's stock, isn't it? Like, I know it sounds silly, but if one of us would have got hurt, I think that's way worse than stock.
As far as transport is concerned, there's been severe disruption. Network Rail say 35 sites have been affected, mainly due to fallen trees, but also because of flooding. There's also problems on the roads. I was in Preston earlier, where fallen trees have closed a road over there, and I spoke to a man who witnessed it.
I was just looking out the window, heard this horrendous noise and looked out just to see this part of the tree actually falling down. So I came out in case it had hit my son's car, but it had just missed. The vicar across the way, his Mini was parked here.
Metrolink has also been suspended in Greater Manchester and trams in Blackpool have also been affected. There are also problems at airports across the country as well. Storm Lilian has now passed and headed into Scandinavia, but clearly potential problems will still remain because of the effects of this morning.
Yeah, Eunice Muller reporting on Storm Lilian, and we'll have the weather with Kay at the end of the programme. Next tonight, the family of Merseyside teenager Ellis Cox say they are determined to find out who was responsible for his death. The 19-year-old was shot on the Liver Industrial Estate in Aintree on the 23rd of June and died a short time later in hospital. 4 people have been arrested, but no one has been charged with his killing.
He was just amazing. So what gives these people a right to just go around with guns, taking children? Parents shouldn't have to bury their child.
We have to stay strong and find who was responsible for taking Ellis from us in such a cruel, vile way.
The James Bond star Daniel Craig has donated 2 007-themed motorbikes to the RNLI. The actor, who grew up near the lifeboat station in Hoylake in Wirral, gifted the Triumph bikes to mark the charity's 200th anniversary this year. The bikes will be sold at auction to raise money for the lifeboat charity. Now, they called it pig butchering, a multi-million-pound investment scam run from a seafront hotel in Douglas on the Isle of Man. An investigation by the BBC's World Service has now revealed how dozens of Chinese workers on computers hooked up to fast broadband fleeced their victims. The company's now been shut down and several people jailed. The scammers tempted victims into investing large amounts of money, a process they called fattening the pig, then siphoned off all their funds. Here's our Isle of Man reporter, Ashley Tracy.
This is an extraordinary story uncovered by BBC World Service. They discovered how a scam based here on the Isle of Man cheated victims some 5,000 miles away. Now, it's thought to have started in late 2021 when 100 people were transferred from the Philippines to work for MIC, or Manx Internet Commerce, which was part of a group of companies all with the same owner. An online casino run by King Gaming Limited, Isle of Man, was most prominent. Well, MIC was first based at the Seaview Hotel in Douglas before moving to former bank offices in the east of the city. According to Chinese court documents, the scammers would pull Chinese investors into chat groups on an app similar to WhatsApp. One would act as an investment teacher and others would pretend to be fellow investors. After an atmosphere of excitement, the victims were dazzled by the hype generated and signed up, only for their funds to then be siphoned off by the scammers. 6 people who worked for them in Douglas have now been convicted after going home to China of carrying out scams against Chinese citizens. The Chinese court heard the cases late last year and said about £4.17 million had been taken from at least 12 victims. The group of companies had planned to build a large headquarters here and were even given planning permission to do so last year. At the time, it was described by developers as the largest single private investment in the Isle of Man. That project is now on hold indefinitely. In April, police raided the former bank offices in connection with a wider fraud and money laundering investigation in relation to King Gaming IOM. Police confirmed 7 people were arrested and released on bail, and since then, a further 3 people are known to have been arrested. The constabulary told us today it could not comment on the investigation as it is ongoing. The island's gambling regulator has stripped the MIC's gambling affiliate companies of their licences. Now, the BBC has made repeated attempts to contact the companies involved, but has received no replies. And the investigations team have also attempted to contact the Seaview Hotel, but have received no response, though there is no suggestion that anybody there was aware of any illegal activities taking place on the premises. Ashley Tracy, BBC North West Tonight, the Isle of Man.
Well, the Isle of Man government has released a statement this evening. It said the robust response by the Isle of Man Constabulary, Gambling Supervision Commission and other agencies demonstrates that, as an island, matters of this nature are taken extremely seriously and that government will not hesitate to act in such situations. It's almost the bank holiday, which means thousands of people will be heading to the Lake District. But a new survey from the Cumbrian Charity Action with Communities shows increasing concerns over the numbers of cars in the national park. Visitors want better parking facilities. Residents want fewer cars on the roads. Davinia Ramos reports.
It's one of the most beautiful parts of the country, attracting millions of visitors. But the Lake District's had issues with congestion and parking for years. And local residents like Steve are fed up.
The landscape and so on is why people come here, the beautiful views and so on, and traffic really spoils that, the fumes, the pollution. So we have to do something about it. We need a comprehensive, affordable, sustainable public transport system, and that needs a lot of investment.
And it's not just a problem in Ambleside. Chris lives in Kendal but travels to Bowness for work and says it's a nightmare to get anywhere in busy seasons.
Off season, it's so much quieter on the road, so much easier to get everywhere, and as soon as summer holiday kicks in, it's just, you can't get anywhere. Like, genuinely, like, I went for a day out to Rydal like a few weeks ago and I just couldn't park anywhere, so I ended up just not going.
The charity Act Cumbria surveyed 3,000 people and found visitors would like better parking, but residents would like fewer cars on the road.
We do need to think about solutions like park and ride. We do need to think about incentives to encourage people to arrive by public transport and use public transport when we're here.
Cars have even been banned from certain parts of the lakes after severe congestion. But what do tourists really think?
We've come for 300 miles and we're spending our money in the local community. I welcome people visiting my town, you know. You get there how you can.
So the place that we're stopping at, it's about a 10-15 minute drive down a single track road just to hit a main road. So for us, waiting an hour for one bus to get us to a point where we can get another bus to somewhere else, that's just going to be most of the day gone.
We like the flexibility of having our car if we want to go to other places.
The Lake District National Park Authority say they're committed to being net zero by 2037. Jenny works for Windermere Cruises and says they're educating tourists on how to get around without using their cars.
I do think it's some people's mindset. They just want to jump in the car, put the kids and the dog and the picnic and then get to where they're going and unload. We do encourage a lot of our visitors, if they're staying in hotels or if they're staying in guest houses, leave the car in the car park there, walk down to either Bowness, Ambleside and Lakeside and use the boat as a way of getting round the lake.
Shuttle buses have been trialled in certain areas around the lakes to improve congestion, and Cumbrian MP Tim Farron's written to the Transport Secretary calling for improvements to the train line between Oxenholme and Windermere. But will it be enough to encourage people to leave their cars at home? Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight in Cumbria.
Right, let's get on with some sport now. Richard is here, and this is a story that has been dragging on a little while, but it looks like Everton could at last be edging slowly towards a takeover, but it's not going to be straightforward, is it? What's happening now then, Richard?
Never is straightforward, Annabelle, is it? Yeah, we do know a little bit more than we did a couple of days ago. John Textor, who, as you know, is in a period of exclusivity with a view to buying a majority stake at Everton, has released a statement. The American digital entrepreneur who's currently trying to sell his 45% holding in Crystal Palace has confirmed his focus has shifted from attempting to buy more shares at Palace to trying to become Everton's owner, saying, "We can confirm that we are interested in selling our interest in Crystal Palace, largely so that we can pursue a relationship with the Everton club and community." He adds, "I do believe that it is more likely than not I will be referring to a new club and community as my club sometime soon." Doesn't mention Everton by name there, does he? But after two of the previous takeovers collapsed, how likely is it that this one will happen? A question I put to the football finance expert, Kieran Maguire.
I think John Textor still has a long way to go before he can divest his stake in Crystal Palace. He has sounded out the remaining investors, but has not had a positive response to date.
Would he, based upon his previous track record, he owns several other, or portions of several other football clubs, including Crystal Palace, would he be a good owner for Everton?
I think the jury's out with regards to how beneficial John Textor would be at Everton. He has tended to borrow money when getting involved in football acquisitions. His management style is erratic at times, but he certainly does seem enthusiastic with regards to football. And ultimately, I think from an Everton fan's point of view is how much is he willing to invest in the club to improve things on the pitch as well as take over the somewhat chaotic ownership structure that we have at present at Goodison.
Apart from the 45% stake that he has to sell in Crystal Palace if he's going to take over at Everton, are there other major stumbling blocks potentially in the way, Kieran, or if he does that, should it happen pretty quickly?
The big issue, as far as John Textor or any other investor or potential investor in Everton is concerned, is the state of the club's existing debts. They're probably in the region of around about £600 million. Whether John Textor could find A, sufficient money to satisfy Farhad Moshiri with regards to his shares, and B, find the money to pay off the existing debts, and then have the further issue of having to complete the stadium. And there's still some outstanding issues with regard to that. The costs very quickly expand, and it's an awful lot of money to find in a relatively short period of time.
Manchester United are at Brighton with Liverpool hosting Brentford on Sunday. In Super League, Warrington Wolves will be looking to keep up their recent good form with a win at Castleford tonight. A victory would see Wyre draw level on points with Wigan Warriors and Hull KR at the top of the table. You might have seen Freddie Flintoff's son Rocky making his senior debut for Lancashire yesterday. A good start and a score of 32 for Flintoff Jr. But I'm afraid really isn't going Lancashire's way at Surrey in the county championship after the Red Rose were bowled out for 204. The home side have been largely untroubled in reply, declaring on 444 for 9. In reply, Lancs a short time ago were 4 without loss. At Old Trafford, though, England's bowlers have had a bit more luck on day 3 of the test against Sri Lanka, with the visitors 6 wickets down in their second innings. As for the fielding, anything the pros can do, the fans can do better. Have a look at this. A one-handed catch from a supporter who nonchalantly snatches the ball. You can see it from this angle after a 6 from England's Mark Ward. Even more impressively, he didn't spill a drop of his pint. That is a skill, Annabelle. And the crowd there, you know, as when somebody does something like that, they celebrate like we won the Ashes, because that's proper skill.
Sign him up.
I know,
Somebody
exactly.
will be, won't they?
That was the best bit.
Rich, thank you very much. Now, it is Manchester's Pride Festival this bank holiday weekend, one of the biggest celebrations of LGBTQ culture in the world. This year, the festival is paying homage to the pivotal role that the city has played in the gay rights movement. Let's join Radio Manchester's Darren Milby, who's going to be broadcasting from the festival all weekend. Darren, it's always a fantastic weekend. The weather looks pretty good behind you. What can we expect? What's planned?
Oh, Annabelle, you're missing an absolute treat here. The weather's been glorious all day today. Of course, we had the storm this morning, but it's been so sunny all afternoon. And as you can see, the party is in full swing right here in Canal Street in the heart of Manchester's gay village. And pleased to say I'm joined by Mark Forrest, the CEO of Manchester Pride. And Mark, wow, what a weekend. What have we got in store this weekend?
Well, a lot more of this. We're bringing the joy, we're bringing the celebration. Down here at the Gay Village Party, tonight we're going to see performances from Jessie J. Tomorrow we've got Rita Ora, we've got Loreen, and we've got Sugar Babes on Sunday. So down here is where the party's at. Tomorrow it's all about the parade.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an incredible lineup as well. Now, of course, thousands of people from across the Northwest will be coming here this weekend. Why do you think Pride is still important in 2024?
You know what, today we need to continue to pushing the Pride movement forward. It's fantastic as we come out to celebrate who we are, to see Manchester and its magical spirit championing LGBT equality. But there's still so much education that needs to be done. There's so much discrimination faced by LGBT people, and we don't have equal rights for all LGBTQ+ people. So that's why we're still here today. That's why we're celebrating, party as protest, and then taking to the streets tomorrow.
Wow, it's going to be a big day on the streets in Manchester tomorrow, of course. We have the parade starting at 12 o'clock, which you can hear live on BBC Radio Manchester. Mark, one final question. You put this together all year. How does it feel to look around and see people having a fabulous time and enjoying themselves?
You know what? It feels incredible. This is my pride. Watching everybody come together, feel free and comfortable to celebrate who they are. The level of unity that we have is just fantastic.
Well, Annabelle, it's going to be a great weekend here in Manchester. We will see you down here tomorrow, hopefully, for the parade.
Darren, thank you so much. Just before the weather, welcome back to viewers on Freeview in South Cumbria. A technical problem with the transmitter in Kendal has meant you've not been able to see us for a few days. Sorry about that. We're here. We've always been here, but unfortunately you couldn't see us. Kay's here now. Bank holiday weekends.
Yes.
Come on, give us some good news.
Let's not get too excited. What do we expect when it comes to a bank holiday? Rain. But don't worry, it's not all a washout. Let's just talk about today. We've had scenes like this right across the patch. Thanks, Kate, for sending that photograph in. Storm Lilian did give us wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour, but we did also see some lovely bright and sunny spells as well. Thank you for sending your pictures in. You can keep them coming all the ways on screen. Join me on socials or become a weather watcher. So it is a bank holiday weekend. How are we doing? Well, for the weekend, we are going to remain rather windy, not as strong as we have been today. There will be some further heavy downpours of rain at times, but some sunshine. Bank holiday Monday is actually looking like the better day. And temperatures will start to pick up through bank holiday and into next week as well. Looking at the pressure chart then to see what happened today, there you can see Storm Lilian cleared quite quickly. Now, as we go through tomorrow, there's a front across the south. That's really going to bring us more cloud across southern parts. But we have got another front, a trough, that's going to give us some showers, and some of those are likely to be quite sharp. Out and about at the minute, though, apart from the Isle of Man and Cumbria, elsewhere it's dry and fine. Showers as we head overnight tonight, again affecting parts of Cumbria and coastal parts, some of them heavy. You can't rule out the odd rumble of thunder. Temperatures cooler than last night, 10 degrees. Cloudier skies for southern parts of Greater Manchester tomorrow. That clears, brightening up. We should see some decent sunny spells. Heavy showers, though. Worse through the morning, improving into the afternoon. The winds will be calmer than today, still gusting, though, up to 30 miles per hour, and those winds will strengthen overnight into Sunday. So the risk of gales first thing Sunday morning. We're going to see cloudy skies. We're going to see some heavy downpours of rain. It starts to brighten up from the south, but it will be quite a blustery feeling day. Top temperatures disappointing, up to 18 degrees. Better conditions for Bank Holiday Monday.
And we're not going to be sending you to any more flower shows, are we? Because they get cancelled every time you turn
Don't
up.
invite me anywhere.
No, Bolton. What a shame. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.
Take care.